Well, good morning, everybody. I am Bob Nagin, your host of the Coronavirus and Independent Retailer podcast. Today is episode number 5. We are officially at the end of week 9. Can you believe it? We've been on this journey together for 9 weeks now. And one of the things that I'm finding very interesting is this, it's starting to shake itself out. It's opening up, and people are back to the business of figuring out what business looks like. If you go back into week 3 or 4, everybody was just trying to figure out how to stay alive. Everybody was, I use the metaphor of being tumbled in a giant wave in the ocean. Well, we're in the eddy now, and we're swimming to shore, and we're figuring it out. And although, there's still a lot of pain and suffering, and there's still a lot of uncertainty, I'm really starting to feel and see people finding a way forward. I hope that's you. If it is you, congratulations. And that's why one of the things that we've been doing is turning our attention more to the things that are important to do when we open up, or, as we open up, or if we're open up, it's still important to do. And today I'm going to talk about there's going to be a case study, but it's going to be about the importance of the statistic of items per sale. I'm a big believer in watching the statistics of your sales team, right? Because statistics measure, efficiency. Statistics measure effectiveness. And we talk a lot about average sale and sales volume per hour, and then conversion. But then that fourth statistics is items per sale. And items per sale is merely the number of items in a particular sale. Just like, I know it seems self-evident, but it's so important. You have a customer, and your challenge is to get the most. And when I say get the most, I mean while giving your customer great value. While, giving great service, your challenge is to get the most from the customer in a way that they're happy about it, right? We talk about a perfect purchase. And so, I'll tell you a story. Back in year 1 of the Mackinac Kite Company, when I was 23 years old and I knew absolutely nothing about retail. I just knew I loved kites and I wanted to open a kite store. We were trying to sell kites, and we were doing a pretty good job, but we recognized that we needed more. And then we found this silly little toy. It was called a whistling balloon helicopter, and we would blow it up and we'd let it go, and it would fly up in the air, and people would stand there and they'd say, "I'll take 1, I'll take 2, I'll take 3. And you got to understand, in those days, Brother Steve and I were poor. We were eating mac and cheese and living in a dumpy little cottage out on Carp Lake. That tells you something right there, Carp Lake. And we didn't have enough money to go out. And, for a couple young single guys in a fun party town in northern Michigan, not going out was kind of painful. And so every one of these whistling balloon helicopters represented a draft beer. So we were, that was the enthusiasm that sort of got us into adding on and really paying attention to items per sale, because items per sale is really a statistic that measures how effectively you and your team are adding on. So let's get to the case study. So there was a conversation in the Platinum Mastermind group a year ago or so, about people saying, I'm having problems. My team is not adding on like they should, and I don't know what to do about it. Now, I'm going to back up real quickly. I do have permission to share this case study. Whenever I share anything from the Platinum Mastermind group, I always get permission, because that's, a tight group. We have a cone of silence. So, but anyway, there was this conversation around that. And interestingly enough, the Canadian members of the group were the ones who said, "Yeah, me too, me too, me too, me too." And so when this conversation came up on our Facebook group, it was right before we had an in-person meeting, and so we said, "Well, let's just deal with it then. Let's talk about it when we're all in person." So we got in person, and it was one of our sessions. Let's figure out what's going on with people not wanting to add on. Now keep in mind, everybody in the room has the Retail Sales Academy. Everybody in the room, their team has been trained on the Sales Academy. They use the Sales Academy correctly. So they are using the tools that they have correctly, yet they're not getting the results that they wanted. So we did this thing called a root cause analysis. And a root cause analysis is basically you start to ask why. Why aren't they adding on? And just keep asking why until you get to the root cause. Why aren't they adding on? They feel like it's pushy was the answer. So people that were on the floor that felt perfectly comfortable selling higher priced merchandise, had a great conversion rate. They did everything well except add on. Well, they feel it's pushy. Well, why do they feel it's pushy? Well, they feel that it's pushy because they had a bad experience in another store with a high pressure salesperson. And, so it went on and on and on and on and on. So we were exploring the problem through the lens of asking ourselves why. We were digging deeper. It's like peeling an onion. But then Jordana Jacobson said something super, super, super smart that made us all go, oh. And so Jordana raised her hand. And Jordana, first of all, shout out for Jordana. Jordana owns a wonderful baby and kids wear store in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. It's called Cravings. You can follow her, particularly on Instagram. Her Instagram feed is amazing. Shop Cravings. But Jordana raised her hand and said, so, I was having the same problem. I'm part of the group of the people who are having the problem. And so what I did one night is I went through all of my tickets and I looked at all of the tickets that were single item purchases. And she went through all of these tickets and a pattern emerged. And the pattern was most of these single ticket items were for a hazelnut necklace for babies who are teething. Apparently, if a baby chews on hazel, it helps with their teething. And it was a super hot item, so people would rush in and buy this hazel necklace, and that was the sale. And so the insight that she had after talking to her people, she talked to her people and says, well, how come you didn't add on to this teething necklace? And they all said, we don't know what to add on to the teething necklace. What do you add on to a teething necklace? If you sell a stroller, there's cups and there's accessories and all those obvious things to add on, but there wasn't an obvious thing to add on to the teething necklace. And what she realized and what's important to you now, and this was an insight. I didn't have that insight, and I've been thinking about this, teaching this, creating the Retail Sales Academy. I didn't think of this. The insight that she had was people were looking at adding on and not looking at the root cause of the purchase of the original purchase. So they were saying, what do I add on with a teething ring? They had nothing in mind. Rather than thinking, oh, you have a problem. This item, the teething necklace, represents a problem, a baby that is teething. And so we sell a lot more solutions than just the teething necklace. So now, once they got to that root cause, they got together, they talked about other add-ons that are appropriate for a young mother who has a baby who is teething. And then once their people saw that they could give extra value by selling other products that would help a mother who was struggling with a teething baby, now all of a sudden they solved that problem by going through and looking at the item, understanding what the item really represented, and then creating add-ons around it. And like I said, it was just one of those moments where I went, the Platinum Mastermind Group is awesome. It seemed, it was an odd problem, and we solved it, and it's made a lot of difference. When you think about adding on, so let's go back to my whistling balloon helicopter. Our average sale in those days was about $20, and I would sell on average one whistling balloon helicopter to every single customer. Right? I mean, some people would buy 2, some people would buy 10, but the average whistling balloon helicopter per customer was 1. It was $1.99. So think about this. I increased my sales by 10% just by adding on. This is so important. Foot traffic is going to be down. It is your job, if you want to really, accelerate your recovery, to make sure you're doing everything you can to get the most from every customer. And I want to share this with you real quickly. This is the poster from the add-on masterclass. And remember, I was sharing this whole idea of what are you selling? Why are they buying it? And then what can they do to add on based on why they're buying it? Not just the obvious stuff, but the stuff that really appeals to that deeper emotional piece. So I hope that you find that helpful. I hope that you think about your items per sale intentionally, correctly. Right now, we have to do everything we can to be as good as we can. We've talked about this before. When things are good, you've got slack, right? You can afford to carry a bad employee. You can afford to have not the best sales behaviors on the floor because you're still making money. You can afford to make mistakes. You can afford to not be as good as you can be. That ain't the case anymore, is it? Now we have to be great. No time for rookies, no time for hobbyists. Now it's the time for the retail professionals to show up. And that's what I'm encouraging you to think about doing, think about becoming. If you already are, tighten up your skills, level up your game, do more. And speaking of leveling up your game, today is the last day. You know I was going to get around to it. Today's the last day where you can get the add-on masterclass for only $47. For some of you, you will make your investment back in one sale. Most of you will make your investment back in one day. So it's normally $97. And by the way, it's a steal at $97. I mean, a flat out virtual steal at $97. But today, last day, that's only $47. And of course, you get one of those handy dandy posters that I just put up. It's only a half hour in length. So it's not a giant course that, is going to take you, a long time to get through. You can get through it by the end of the weekend, no worries. And it does have a 30-day unconditional money-back guarantee. So if you get it and spend a half hour watching it and you don't think it's everything that I'm bragging that it is, call the office. We'll give you your money back. But if you've been watching this podcast regularly or listening to it regularly, and you believe that I know what I'm talking about and that I care about your success, I'm just going to look at you and tell you that you really owe it to yourself to give the add-on masterclass a shot. I mean, we're super excited about it as a product and a program, and we're super excited about what it can do for you and your business. Again, right now, we're talking about getting good. And this is one of those things that'll help you and your team get really, really good. So if you haven't made the investment, Do it today. Do it today, okay? All right, everybody. So it is the end of Friday, and Susan and I are going to our cottage up north in Mackinac City. We're going to sit on the couch and drink wine and eat bonbon. We'll go hike and stuff like that. But I hope that you have a great, great weekend, and we'll see you again on Monday.